Has anyone ever told you you're like a happy version of David Goggins?
Well, I'm inspired by Goggins a lot, you know? And I think a lot of us are, because I grew up with such a great childhood, and I really was just very successful, man. I was a great student. I got into a great university. Before I finished that university, I had already met Kanye West and Jay-Z and had a record deal, and I was making more money than my professors. I mean, like, I couldn't say I had no challenges, but like, I had kind of like been doing really well.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, now fast forward to right before the walk, I'm like 30. And it's like, I'm like, if I have go in the studio and write another hit song, like, I'm just going to be me, a little richer, a little more famous. It's not really going to move the needle as far as my spiritual growth, as far as my experience of life, as far as like what I'm here to do. I have to put something very fucking hard in front of myself. And I found Goggins' stuff very inspiring. I love his first book, man. It was like incredible.
Yeah.
That first book was one of the books that I listened to when I was first training for my first marathon.
Yeah, man.
And I can just remember
it's like, what's my
depth.
fucking excuse?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's so good.
If this man can, like, learning disability, abused, racism, like, one thing after the other, 300 pounds, like, what's my fucking excuse?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, even your snake bite story, it reminds me of when he did Moab 240 a couple years ago, and I think he got injured or went off course or something, and they DQ'd him. And then he was in the hospital, got out of the hospital, and ran the last 40 miles of the race.
Back.
And everyone was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to hurt yourself.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I was on the walk when he did that shit.
Yeah. But that's like you, though, in a lot of ways, because it's so easy to give into the sympathy and attention, but it seems like for you, there was like this little voice in your back of your head that was more than a little voice that was like, but dude, I think you can finish this, and are you going to regret it if you don't do it? And it sounds very similar to him too. And it's like, I think a lot of people resonate with that voice, people that have given into that voice and people that have like fought back and really like pushed forward and accomplished what they were saying. You got to
have the no matter what clause, man, in your covenant.
I love that.
You have to, because I had that not because I'm strong, because I know how weak I am. I couldn't, every day, failure would knock at my door. Failure was not finishing. And my little cheap Timex watch the alarm would go off at 4 every day because it was hot. It was summer. So you couldn't just roll out of bed whenever you want. You had to get going early to get the miles in before it was like really hot. So every morning that would go off, and I'd think, man, I'll tell you what I don't want to do right now. Fucking wake up and start walking. Like, I'm in pain. I never wanted to do it. Never, bro. Like, not one day was I like, yes.
Yeah.
Great. Can wake up right now. But, and I'll tell you, on paper, there were probably some days, if we were just looking from like a biological standpoint, that I should have taken off. Because I was really in pain, bro. Like, my feet were in bad shape. Like, it was bad.
Yeah.
Like, I'd wake up and I could barely stand up. And I think, how the fuck am I going to, like, get 24 more? I looked like an old man when I'd wake. I'd be like, when I'd stand up like that. It was crazy. I never felt that before. But I knew I couldn't push snooze even once. I never pushed snooze. Not because I'm strong. I'm not bragging. I knew if I pushed snooze once, I was opening the door and cracking it and going, oh, hi, failure. And I knew once I opened that door, if I opened that door, failure is gonna stick its fucking foot in the crack. And I knew if I push snooze once, pretty soon I would be going, okay, dude, you've walked 24 miles every day. Like you're tired now. You can just do 20 today. It's not a big deal. Like you'll finish one day later. Who gives a fuck? And I knew from there I'll be taking more days off. And then I knew from there, failure would have the door cracked open a little more, and I might go, dude, what if I finish this on a bike? Like this is really doing stuff bad. And I knew that I'd be back home on my fucking couch.
Yeah.
Going, man, that was hard. And I tried it.
Yeah.
And good try. And so I knew not because I'm strong, because I'm weak. I couldn't crack that door open ever.
What was the, because it's funny that I feel like, when you're facing those thoughts about quitting, usually people think of quitting as something that happens in an instant and, you're done. But it's usually something as small as, or as subtle as just even opening that door so that they can, that, like you said in the analogy, like failure will just put their foot in the door. And it takes a certain level of awareness, I guess, to think of, or at least understanding your own mindset to know that, hey, if I hit snooze once, that's me potentially quitting this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like it's this little small adjustment, but the magnitude of that choice can really carry so much weight